What's up everybody, it's Carl aka Carl Drum Tech, and today let's talk about the most effective strategies for learning music, practicing, and performing. Cue the music. Alright, if you guys are finding me for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, this red button down below that says subscribe. That way you're notified anytime I put out a new video in regards to marching arts, marching bands, drum lines, inner percussion, drum corps, all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single upload. Now, also make sure that notification bell is ringing. That way you, for sure, will be notified anytime I put out a new video. So subscribe, make sure that notification bell is ringing, and let's get to the video. Okay, so this was inspired by basically my private students where, you know, I'm helping them learn their music or I'm helping them learn an exercise. And what tends to happen is as they're learning it, you know, it's very fresh, right? It's so raw. They barely know what's going on. They barely know what they're doing with the exercise, right? Just like anybody else who's learning music or an exercise for the first time. You're just kind of like, you're in full survival mode. You're trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, like, you know, what am I doing? What is this exercise? Trying to make sense of all the rhythms, trying to make sense of everything and how it all fits together. And the number one strategy I have for learning music or learning exercise is you gotta think ahead. So what tends to happen is, you know, like obviously you want to run it a couple times, right? You're playing through it a couple times. At some point you start to figure out, okay, this part is this part is this. So what really helps is if you look ahead in your mind, like you think ahead, right? So you're playing something, and then the next part is right? And it's like if you have no idea what that part is, right? You're just like right? So you got to think as you're playing, you're thinking I don't know what the rhythm is. Alright? So just think, you want to look ahead, think ahead, and that helps you so that when you get to that part, it doesn't come as a surprise, okay? So now, when you have learned this exercise, once you have learned the music, once you have learned something, right, you don't want to think ahead as much. You want to start looking behind, okay? You want to start looking back. So what I mean by that is, like, you know, when you are practicing, okay, you play through something, you want to remember what you did, okay? You want to remember what you did well, you want to remember what you did not do well, and then you can kind of like, after you finish up your rep, you can kind of reflect, think back and say, what did I do well? What did I not do well? And then, you know, do more of what I did well, and then do less of what I did not do well, or fix it or correct it. Does that make sense, right? So if you mess up with something, you got to think, okay, where did I mess up? How did I mess up? Why I messed up? And then fix it on the next run. Okay, that's how you get better. That's how you improve when you practice, okay? So you see the pattern here, right? When you're first learning something, you want to look ahead. You want to think ahead. See what happens, like as you're playing something, think about what's happening, you know, afterwards, so that when you get there, you know, like it doesn't come as a surprise, okay? Because it's still new, right? So it really helps to kind of think what's happening ahead of you, okay? Now, if you're practicing, you kind of want to, you know, like have a really good memory so that you can look back, okay? So you want to look back and remember and memorialize, you know, so that you can get better, so you can make improvements, and then everything that you did well, you want to remember that, so you'd be like, yeah, more of that. Or even better yet, improve slightly on everything, okay? Now, in full performance mode, okay? So you're playing in front of people, you're in a competition, exhibition, concert, whatever, okay? When you're performing, the number one thing you got to do is not do any of those things. You can't look back, okay? So you have to basically have a short memory. And like I did a poll on my Instagram where it's like, you know, I asked, hey, like after performance, how much do you remember the performance? Like, you know, what percentage of you guys like have a really good detailed memory of exactly what happened? It's a very interesting stat. 60% of people said that they do remember, but then 40%, okay? Like pretty close to half, right? 40% of people do not remember the performance. And I remember, you know, like being in those situations where I perform, and then after perform, I'm like, I don't know how that run went. I really don't remember. I don't even remember what happened. It's like, it almost felt like all I know is I performed, and now all of a sudden I'm here, like, you know, after performance. It's a really weird feeling. I don't know if anybody's ever And anybody watching right now has ever felt that? I'm sure there are a lot of you who think like that, and or feel that way. And it's really interesting, I think why that is. And why that is because we tend to have a short memory because we're so focused on the present, okay? We want to focus on the now. Just focus on the thing that we're doing at that time, okay? In the present moment, whether that's a single bar or a beat, you just want to think like right there, right that second, what are you doing? What are you playing, okay? Now, you also don't want to think ahead because it's like, if you're kind of anxious about something like a part that you're like, yeah, I'm really excited about this, like, then you're not focusing on the part that you're playing right there. Like, you're not going to be able to execute that, at your highest capability because your focus is not there. It's not on the thing that you are doing at that time. You also don't want to look back. You want to have a short-term memory because you don't want to be like, oh, you did something bad, and then you're like, oh no, I did something bad. You can't think like that. You got to think, yo, forget it, move on to the next thing. Like that's the best thing you can do, right? If you mess up on something, the worst thing you can do is compound that mistake by making more mistakes because you're tripping out about that mistake you made. The best thing you can do is forget it and move on to the next thing and make that as best as you possibly can. And that way it's like, okay, it's not a big deal because everything else is good after that. Does that make sense, right? So you don't want to compound mistakes by making more mistakes because you are tripping out on the mistake you made in the first place, okay? You also don't want to think ahead, don't get too anxious, or even don't get too nervous, right, about a part that maybe you're not confident about or something like that. You're just so scared. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to be clean. Holy crap, like you just have all this anxiety. That's going to mess up the part that you're doing right then and there, right? So in performance mode, in the moment is the best thing you can do, okay? So let's wrap this up, okay, really quickly. So the best strategies I can give you for learning something is that you want to think ahead. You want to look ahead so that when you get to a new part that you're not familiar with, it doesn't catch you off guard. It doesn't catch you by surprise, okay? Once you have learned that thing, okay, music, exercise, whatever, you want to look back. You want to have a really good memory about everything you did so that when the rep is done, you can be like, okay, what did I do well? What did I not do well? How do I fix the things I did not do well? And then do more of the things I did do well, okay? But in full performance mode, okay, you got to think in the moment, okay? You got to have a short-term memory. You can't, dwell on stuff that happened, before, like the things that you did before, okay? You can't look ahead and kind of be anxious or even excited or nervous about something that comes later. You got to focus on the thing you're doing in that moment, the beat that you're playing, the note that you're playing. You got to focus in the moment. That is the best strategy I can give you to have the best performance you possibly can. And that's why I really feel like after a performance, so many people have almost like a very limited recollection of what happened because they're so in the moment, right? It's like they totally forgot everything that happened in the past because they're always thinking, what's now, what's now, what's now, what's now, what's now. They're not thinking ahead. They're always thinking, in the moment. So I'm wondering, what type of performer are you? Do you tend to remember everything after you perform? I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm saying that probably the best thing to do is that you are in the present moment, and maybe still you have a really good memory, and after you perform you still have a really good memory. You remember everything. You remember everything that went well and all that stuff. So I'm just wondering, like, are you the type of person who remembers so many things, so many details about past performance, or are you the type of person like me where it's like, I don't even know how I got here. It's like you perform and then you're like in the parking lot, you're like, okay, now I'm in the parking lot. I know I performed, I don't know what happened. So it'll be really interesting to see that. Like I said, I did a Facebook poll, I did an Instagram poll, and it's really interesting. 60% of people said that they remember the performance, and then 40% do not. Really interesting. Okay, so guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, please do me a huge favor, hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, would like to add to this conversation, like I said, what type of performer are you? Do you remember everything that happened, like directly after performance, or do you forget? You literally forget everything, okay? Leave that in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, okay? If you guys, have not subscribed yet, after I told you to subscribe, make sure to subscribe. It's the red button down below, just as red as this shirt, all right? Hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate that. And if you have already subscribed, thank you so much, okay? And if you feel like this video could help somebody else out, make sure you share this with your friends, share it on all your social media platforms. I'd really appreciate that as well. And your friends hopefully will appreciate it, okay? Cool, guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next video, and you should totally watch more of my videos by clicking over here and subscribing over here. Peace. Catch you guys on the next video.